Hello everyone, and welcome to my review for Kengan Omega Chapter 115, or I guess actually 114.5. This seems to be another situation where they just continue with the page count from last chapter. There's not a title or anything, so I guess this is really just the second half of 114. But anyway, before I get into this week's review, I of course have to mention my subscriber goal for 2021, hitting 5,000 by the end of the year. So if you're already a fan of the channel and you're not subscribed, you might as well to help me reach that goal. The other thing is my Patreon. If you want to help support me and the channel directly while also getting access to some extra content, you can always become a patron. I have a link to my Patreon down in the description. Now, with that out of the way, let's get on with the review. It finally happened, people. It finally happened with this chapter, the end of this fight. We now have a new king of the Purgatory Tournament. Liu versus Nitoku is the new best fight in this tournament. It took forever. It took quite a bit, but we finally got something better than Falcon versus Rahito. I really did not have any issues with this fight. There was nothing that happened where I'm like, that's kind of lame, or that's kind of bullshit. That kind of seems like a missed opportunity. No, none of that. So this was great. This was absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Let's talk about the actual chapter itself here. I'm of course working with Shadow King Requiem's summary of the chapter. We won't be getting a full translation for a few days, so there are a few details that, I don't have to work with, but we know what happens in the chapter, so I can talk about that. It seems like Nitoku gives up on literature, even for a moment, for the sake of giving his all for the fight. He realizes maybe becoming an author isn't for me. Maybe there's a reason that, I am as athletic and as good of a fighter as I am. It's because that's what I meant to do, so I'm going to give my all for this fight. That's really good. Now, the Fajin from the end of the last chapter, I guess the end of the first half of this chapter, this stuff is confusing. I don't know why they didn't just make it chapter 115, but I digress. The Fajin hits. It is not the knockout blow of the fight, but instead, it seems to hurt Nitoku enough that he lets Liu out of the submission. So Liu is free, but, his right arm is broken, so he's working with one arm here. This is where we get that sort of, I guess it's like a flashback for Nitoku talking to maybe a mentor or an author guy. Once again, we don't seem to have the information on that yet, so I'm assuming this was some guy that Nitoku trusted and thought was like a reliable source of advice and information. So they go in for this final exchange. Nitoku lands a hit on Liu's face, gets in a good punch, but it's not enough, and Liu lands this mean Chinese martial arts kick that knocks Nitoku back out of the ring. So we finally got another use of the ring out, and this one doesn't feel cheap. When Medel used the ring out on Gao Lang, it was after Gao Lang had beaten the shit out of him, and then Carlos had just kind of tricked him into following him out of the ring. In this case, Liu straight up won and knocked Nitoku out of the ring. So that's fine. He hit him hard enough to knock him out. There was no trickery or bullshit involved. So this is perfectly good use of the ring out rules, and of course, this means that Liu won under Purgatory rules. How fitting. Because as he says, under Purgatory rules, Purgatory gladiators never lose, and here he is getting a win through said rules. Yeah, good stuff. And then the end of the chapter, for some reason the commentators think that Liu is going to try and kill Nitoku or something when he follows him out of the ring after he's been declared the winner. I don't know why they would think that. I get that he's pissed off and all, but he wouldn't just fucking murder some random guy that had nothing to do with Night Undying. But he goes over and he helps Nitoku get up. Basically shakes his hand. It's nice. Nitoku says, "Partings make up too much of our life," which is a very good line. I don't know where he gets it from. And that's the end of the chapter. It's good. It's solid. It's very nice. This is how you do a great fight. This was what made so many of the fights in Ashura so good, in that you had two characters who are both relatively likable, You can reasonably root for either of them. Both of them give their all, put up a very good performance, and the end of the fight is satisfying. And in addition, you ideally build up some kind of relationship between the two characters, or do something that contributes to either of their character development. This is a great fight. This is a fantastic fight. This is as good as some of the better fights in Ashura, and is at the very least the best fight of this tournament, possibly the best fight in Omega. And that's quite exciting because there's still 3 more rounds left. Before I get into those, I will say, in terms of the power ranking, I would say Liu is like a solid A tier, maybe even high A tier. The whole getting into high gear thing is a little bit of a liability, but overall, like when he's giving it his all, it's like when Hatsumi's in peak condition. Peak condition, Liu is high A tier. He's very solid. Same for Nitoku. They're both very good fighters. And I would like to see both of them again. Also, no worm stuff from Nitoku. It seems like Nitoku's the real deal, which I don't mind at all. I'm quite happy with that because I already like Nitoku. Him being a worm was something where I'm like, well, if there's anybody, it's probably Nitoku. Oh well. But the fact that Nitoku is seemingly not a worm member, so far at least, good. I'm very happy about that. That means we're going to have normal Nitoku from here on out. Assuming we don't get anything like after the tournament, like some people have suggested, where after the fact they're leaving and you see he has a worm tattoo somewhere. He's talking to the worm head or something. No, it's just Nitoku. So cool, good. I look forward to seeing more from Nitoku. And of course, Liu, probably the most fleshed out purgatory fighter we've gotten so far. More meat for his character than anyone else who's come up from their side. I'm very excited to see more from Liu in the future, because regardless of whoever wins the tournament, these fighters are going to be absorbed into the other organization. So if Kengan wins, we're going to be seeing more of Liu in Kengan matches, and if Purgatory wins, we're going to be seeing Liu fight in Purgatory matches against other Kengan characters. So that'll be a lot of fun, and I look forward to that a lot. Now, time to make some predictions for the final 3 fights of this tournament. So we got 3 guys left on each team. On Purgatory side, we got Lalong, Tarashi, and Faye. On the Kengan side, we have Oma, Wakatsuki, and Okubo. For starters, because of this round, Purgatory's back in the lead. I don't think Lalong will feel compelled to join. There's still a chance that he will go up next, but I find it not particularly likely. Faye, I kind of doubt we'll have 2 Demon Fists in a row, so not Faye. Next fighter going up is Tarashi. Assuming Tarashi is not the Tiger's Vessel, which I still feel more inclined to believe that Faye is the Tiger's Vessel, that means next round, it's time for Okubo to enter. That's right. It's time for Tarashi versus Okubo. If this fight is anything to go off of, if Sandro keeps up this quality for the next fight, who knows? Maybe we'll have the best fight again. I mean, Okubo versus Agito is a pretty good fight. One of the better fights in the first round. Doing like actual real MMA martial arts and not like made up shit seems to typically lead to the better choreography. I mean, this fight was really well choreographed, so hopefully we'll get that, assuming that Tarashi doesn't have anything stupid, like Formless or something. You know, depending on what the deal is with Tarashi. Is he a clone of Agito? Is he a clone of someone else? Is he a new character? Maybe. We'll have to see what happens. I do think he's going to have a face that we've recognized to some extent, or it'll be something shocking. It'll be some kind of reveal. Maybe he's disfigured or something, I don't know. We're gonna have some kind of reveal with Tarashi's mask where it breaks or gets knocked off or something at some point during the fight. I have pretty good expectations for that fight. I think it'll be pretty solid overall. One of the better fights of the tournament. And I think that Okubo is going to win. As much as we need to see some stuff from Tarashi, we also need to see how much stronger Okubo has gotten, and it'd be nice to finally see Okubo get a win. He's, like these guys, like Nitoku and Liu, he's a solid A-tier fighter. His fight or I guess the aftermath of his fight with Agito, straight up said, I'm going to get a lot stronger. I'm going to get strong enough to fight you and beat you, Agito. So we're going to see how much stronger Okubo has gotten over the last 2 years, and I'm fairly excited to see that. So assuming Okubo wins, we go back to being tied. Then you could go either one for the round after that, actually. You could have Oma versus Faye or Lelong versus Wakatsuki. I really don't know which one it is. I'm trying to think who would be the more dramatic presumed finale for the tournament. I guess if they are tied by the end, we're going to have an extra round or something. But assuming that the 13th round is the last one, I'm trying to think of which one would be more dramatic. Having the King of Purgatory or the Tiger's Vessel. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and find out for that. But yeah, fantastic chapter, fantastic fight. The second half of this tournament has really been great. It's pretty much made up for the first half being pretty lackluster. And I'm very excited to see what happens next chapter. So that's all I have to say for this week's review. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Kengan Omega chapter reviews every week. If you enjoy other series such as Jujutsu Kaisen, Record of Ragnarok, and Chainsaw Man, I do videos in those series as well, so you should check out my channel if you're interested in those. If you enjoy discussing Kengan Omega with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have linked to that down in the description. And of course, since it's the end of the video, it's time to give a shout out to my wonderful patrons, Archbear CJ2K, Fuse, Neo, Dijon Redden, Anthony Chavez, Honey Mustard, Zach Rowitz, K-God, Chris Redfield, Scratch23, Moonshadow935, Rat, and Ryzen4K. Thank you all very much for supporting me on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. And if you too want to get a shout out at the end of videos or access to reviews for Solo Leveling and The Boxer, you can always become a patron as well. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.